Hello and welcome to another episode of This Week in Sports. I am your friendly neighborhood host, Nick, with my co-host, Zach.
Hello, hello.
And we are here once again to give you a rundown of all the important and major news stories in sports that caught our attention this week.
Yes, what a crazy, interesting week it was this week.
It's been a wild one. We are coming to you from a bright and sunny Sunday afternoon here on the first official weekend of summer. And appropriately so, we are closing the books on hockey this week. We do have a champion for the season, just in time for the ice to start melting. And what else? We do not yet have our NBA champion as of recording time, although that will not be true for much longer today.
Yep, we will have one by the end of the day.
And it was, those are our two big ones. Oh, and then a bit of an odd week for the Rockies.
Ooh, what could that possibly entail?
Well, we'll get to it. But first, let's go ahead and start off with the hockey news. As we've said, this is the last week we will have coverage for our NHL season because the Florida Panthers are our back-to-back champions.
Doesn't happen very often.
It happened most recently because Florida is absolutely dominating this 2020s decade. I'm not sure if you realize this.
Lightning, Panthers.
Florida representative has been in the last 6 Stanley Cups. The Panthers have been the last 3.
Oh yeah, because we beat the Lightning.
Lightning were 3 in a row, who we broke their streak. So yeah, the Cup has been very happy in Florida these days. But yes, our Florida Panthers did the trick. They took out Connor McDavid and company in Edmonton for Game 5. Last we reported we were at a 2-2 draw. And Edmonton just really did not show up in that sort of must-win situation. Like, that was your potential last home game of the year. And it was 3-1, 3-0 before they even got on the board, thanks to Connor McDavid. And that was too little too late. 5-2 after empty netters, and everything was accounted for in that one, which took us to Game 6 on Tuesday night out in Florida. So the Panthers got to do it on home ice even. Pretty storybook ending for the Panthers. Putting to rest, I think, any notions, though, of this being one of the all-time great finals in Cup history. There's just been so many better ones.
Yeah, this one it had a good beginning. I will say that.
Yes.
In through 4 games, we had 3 overtime games. 1 game, which was kind of a little bit of a, I guess, not. It didn't happen again.
It looked like it was going to be a nice heavyweight battle, and then it turned out to not be so much of a heavyweight battle.
No, the Oilers kind of didn't leave round 1 in that fight, unfortunately. I don't know what to say there. It sucks. Again, Connor McDavid going home without a Stanley Cup trophy once again.
Not even a Conn Smythe to his name in this one.
No, no one on that Oilers team was, I don't think, deserving enough. We kind of talked about, they gooned it up in one game, which was kind of, I'm going to say, a little disgraceful for the finals. And then really you didn't have anything except for the one spectacular outlier performance that you kind of put the belt to Florida, but the rest, Florida was steady all the way through. They were, like we kind of talked about, the same team through and through.
Yeah, built for the playoffs, knew what they were here for, and grinded out every series. Edmonton, I think, is, you have to look now at that's 4 years in a row now. They've made it to at least the Western Conference final, if not to the Stanley Cup final all the way, and this group just doesn't have the gusto. Corey Perry was not the answer. In fact, may actively be the problem. His curse remains active and is now up to 6 Stanley Cup losses altogether, which is unprecedented. I'm pretty certain. And yeah, it's also already started our favorite offseason activity. Will the Edmonton Oilers fumble the bag on renegotiating with Connor McDavid? Will he become a free agent? He has 1 year remaining on his contract currently before he is up for free agency. So that means this is kind of the summer to hammer out the details of an extension if that's going to be the case. If he stays in Edmonton long term, but maybe he goes to Toronto and fixes the Maple Leafs problems, has been a popular theory floated. Or maybe he goes out to the Vegas Golden Knights, who will do anything to their cap structure to fit a superstar in.
Because they would love to probably have him there. There is this notion, though, right, that you have to lose enough in order to win. They've lost quite a bit here. Where is that sort of fine balance between losing enough to figure out how to win and just...
Normally you consider those like you have to learn how to lose things to happen in the first couple of rounds, and then once you're consistently making it to conference champions finals rounds, it's like, no, you know how to get here now you just need to actually win the thing. And in this case I think it's kind of so I did a little digging on this because my initial theory when I looked at the numbers, Connor McDavid, we hadn't really talked about him much this offseason. He put up 33 points, which was still the most in the league, tied with Leon Draisaitl. No surprise there. So 33 points he put up, but as far as his plus minus, which is you get a plus if you're on the ice when your team scores, and you get a minus if you're on the ice when your team gives up a goal. Connor McDavid was a +3. And so that is, to me, a pretty big indicator that your team is not playing very good defense. Because if you're scoring that much offense and not coming out on the plus side of things, what's happening?
Yeah, I'm curious because he's been painted as sort of the Lord of hockey for a while now, even taking some of...
This was his 10th year. He came into the league in 2015. It is now 2025. He's had a decade-long run as, being the chosen one.
At what point do we, I'm a little bit of a homer here. McKinnon has the Stanley Cup. He's just as good. When do we sort of dethrone him and make someone else the face of hockey? It would be very, very good for him to leave Edmonton and go to somewhere like Vegas that could use the juice once again. I think that's very Gretzky-esque, if I say so myself.
Yeah, I mean, there's, I think, got to be a little bit of the notion that it's not going to happen if he's on a Canadian team. The curse is still alive and well, and they will not lift the cup again. I guess until Gretzky dies or something, maybe.
I don't know. They've been the closest the past couple seasons.
They've been Canada's one and only hope, and I think it's an even crueler tease of them to get into the finals and give them that hope that maybe it's this year, and then they keep fumbling it. But it's all sorts of speculation. To follow up on my note about plus minus, so because I looked at it, I was like, okay, Connor McDavid is only like a +3 with his 33 points. Leon Draisaitl is like a +10, which is still not great considering how much scoring that's providing.
Where do you want to be on this plus minus? What is
So here's where my thinking went to next. I was like, okay, well, let's think about someone else who actually, when I looked at their stats, fairly comparable in terms of overall scoring production. What did Peter Forsberg's playoff performances look like? He was an elite talent, top of the game. What did he do? Peter Forsberg was a +52.
All time overall or
career, with 250 points scored, and he was like a 150 differential or something. An absolutely insane number. And so then I followed that rabbit hole. I was like, oh, well, then let's see what Joe Sakic's plus minus numbers. Dear listeners, I have the utmost misfortune of reporting Joe Sakic was a -2 in his playoff career. His overall career numbers are all, he's like a -3 on his overall career numbers, but I did look into that one. That's because in the regular season, when he first started on the Quebec Nordiques, they were so awful. He was like a -70 in the first 4 years of his career, and he spent the rest of it climbing out of that hole.
To be fair to Joe, he did score when they needed it.
Joe was very clutch, and that is again the takeaway and the lesson in the playoffs is doesn't matter necessarily how much production you're getting; it matters when you're getting it.
Yeah.
And that is the lesson there. Is the plus minus does not tell the tale all the time, but it is a generalization for what's happening with your ice time. Because I think it's also very easy to point out that just as the top line center in the playoffs, these guys tend to also just be on the ice the most. So it also kind of tracks that most of the plays happen while they're on the ice either way. So. That was just a little thing. And so that's going to be the kind of rumor mill around the NHL is where's McDavid going to go? Florida is going to enjoy their summer once again partying with the Cup, and then it's going to see which of those guys head off to get their payday in free agency. The Conn Smythe Trophy winner this year with 15 goals in the postseason is Sam Bennett. Who now enters kind of unprecedented territory as the Conn Smythe winner going into unrestricted free agency. It's never happened before. So he's probably set to make himself a nice little payday. Original estimates had him in like a 7 to 9 million range. He might be pushing into requesting double-digit figures now. So... that'll be probably the biggest name on the market, but Brad Marchand, who came out of his Bruins era and became a Florida Panther at the trade deadline, is also up for a new contract, and indications are that he's looking for about 4 years, and I believe in the also like 11 to 12 million range.
But good little contract there.
Yeah. Considering again the top right now is 12.75 and we'll bump up to, or no, it's 13 and a quarter this year. It's going to be 14 and a half will be Draisaitl's kicking in next year. And that'll be our new top mark, which everyone will be trying to eclipse in our ongoing off-season negotiations. Other little NHL notes to be aware of as we head into off-season. Dallas has already started their cap crunch retooling. They have decided that they're sticking with Matt Duchene for another 4 years at $4.25 million. And so they had to deal, or $4.5 million, excuse me. Let me not deprive Matt Duchene of his $25,000.
Yeah, he's earned it.
Yeah. And they did have to move on from Mason Marchment, though, who was also on a $4.5 million deal. And he has been moved out to the Seattle Kraken for some draft picks. And the Seattle Kraken are doing a speed run of absolutely tearing down their franchise. They had just hired Dan Bylsma to be sort of like the guiding head of this seemingly like just about to climb into competitive ability roster that they had spent a few years putting together. They had some young kids that they were actually developing, and some of the guys that they signed originally were like starting to find their role, and now it's all different. Head coach is gone, a bunch of new faces because they've been wheeling and dealing for half a season already in terms of cap movement. So Seattle is looking a lot different, and like they've kind of restarted on the roster building phase, which is interesting to see out of a team that was in the playoffs like 2 seasons ago.
Yeah, Brand feels like they didn't have the roster long enough to begin with.
Some strange management decisions up there so far in Seattle territory. And then our only other note for the NHL, we do have our Avs preseason schedule announced, which will be hitting us late September, early October. We're going to be playing home and away games against Utah, Dallas, and who's number 3? It's one of the other Central teams. Utah, Dallas, I think the Blues maybe. But the important note out of this one is that The Utah Mammoth, as we now know they are officially called, do not have a stadium to play in until games officially start. So both of those games are going to happen here in Denver. One of them will be at Ball Arena, but the other one will be happening the same day at an undisclosed as of yet location.
The only other location, if they're going to happen in the Denver area, is you go to the Eagles Arena.
You could go out to the Eagles Arena in Broomfield. They've done scrimmage games in the preseason before over at the Pioneers ice rink.
Oh, you could go there too as well. Actually.
But that's a much smaller venue, I think, in terms of ticket sales. But I don't think they rely on preseason too much for ticket sales either.
No, but it is nice to have that extra little income. Don't know why you wouldn't go out to the Eagles, the other professional hockey, but
farther trip for
sure.
Whoever has to be the B team that day.
Sucks if you don't have a stadium.
Yeah, basically. And yeah, that is kind of the end of our NHL season. Florida, possibly a dynasty, depending on how much shaking up we see from them. It in position seemingly as, for some reason, in the initial odds that came out immediately after the cup was awarded, the Avs were placed third most likely to win the cup next year.
You like that?
I don't, I do like that we're that high up there in the bet making world, but it's a little surprising because we did, like, even if you just went in order of how the teams finished this year, that would have put us at like 7th or 8th overall.
Yeah, but East and West, I feel like also in the NHL a little different beast to go through for sure. And then the roster management issues that we had all season long, there's surely no possible way that we go through that again.
Well, yes, that we are going to be in a kind of funny position this year of being in possession of center depth and being on the end of deciding if we want to sell any of that for other roster hole management, which almost certainly will have to happen, but it's a new problem we haven't had in a long time. Too many centers.
Yeah, where can we find a center? We have all the centers now.
Mm-hmm. So we'll see if that's a better problem to have. I think it will be.
Make him a winger. Fine.
It's the easier solution. But yeah, that was hockey this week. Why don't you tell us about our basketball action?
What a crazy week it was in the basketball world. We'll start with the NBA because less action, oddly enough, happened there this week. In the NBA, we had a couple different games. Both respectively, Oklahoma City smacked Indiana in their home court, and then when we went out to Indiana, Indiana smacked Oklahoma in their home court. Tyrese did not play most of Game 5 out there in Oklahoma. He did have a leg injury. Was a little rough, kind of explained the score and the story there. He did play Game 6, fought through the injury. We do not know quite how bad it was. It didn't seem to be too terrible because they showed out. And they ended up winning, taking us to today, which will be Game 7 in that NBA.
The first Game 7 since 2016. That's surprising to me.
Yeah, this has been a really good matchup. Like I said, it's not one that everyone wanted to see, unfortunately. But if you're a basketball fan, this is one that's worth watching. I think both teams very young, very talented. It will be fun to see how long they can continue to grow, because with championships comes money, it seems. The NBA culture does seem to be very much in the mindset of, once I win one, I can go get the bag. That's really, you don't really need more than that, to be honest.
Yeah, especially in this era where it's so hard. Like, there haven't been any sort of dynasties that have gone for multiple.
Well, let me tell you.
Golden State.
Yeah, there's not as many dynasties. So you have to think in the basketball world is still a fairly young, newish sport, minus, I think, lacrosse, which is probably the newest of the children. Basketball, we're probably only in our 80th or 90th season. So there's only been 80 or 90 championships throughout the whole history of basketball.
Mm-hmm.
So one of those, one out of every 90, is a pretty good percentage if you're looking at the birth of all the players that have played.
Sure. And especially if you're talking about just with the current configuration of most of the teams that we're familiar with today have only been around for, like, as we covered last year, about 30 years or so.
Yeah, there is also this mindset that's sort of shifting throughout what's, I'm going to say, seemingly all sports except for maybe hockey, where people are not nearly as concerned about winning championships as much as they are getting paid and sort of setting up their their life for the rest. But
because people know you can't generally do that with hockey, and so you got to be in it for that trophy.
yeah, there's a different love involved there for sure. But yeah, it's a different mindset, and maybe it's a conversation for a different day that we have. Speaking of championships and people hunting down, Houston made a trade earlier today. Actually, in fact, Kevin Durant will be part of that new Houston squad. Houston did give up Jalen Green, Dylan Brooks, the number 10 pick this year, and 5 second-round picks to acquire him. At least that's what's been reported thus far.
Yes, those are the details as we understand them as of recording.
Yep. Another trade that happened earlier this week is we see Desmond Bane from Memphis heading down to Orlando, where they've swapped out Cole Anthony and I think it was like 5 first-round picks in order to acquire him, and maybe a few seconds in there as well.
Didn't KCP move in that trade?
KCP also did move in that trade as well.
That was, I think, kind of Orlando getting that contract off the books largely.
Contract off the
part
books,
of it.
And him and Desmond Bane played the same position, and they have Gary Harris there, who's also a beloved Denver Nugget, a former beloved Denver Nugget, also in that 2 spot. So now you have a lot of 2 guards sort of running around that don't really need, especially since KCP, Desmond Bane, and Gary Harris all very much different flavors of the same player, sort of different levels. And really, if you're going to have Desmond, who's the clear starter, KCP and Gary Harris become sort of
very expensive to have as bench players.
Yeah, they're expendable at that point.
Yeah, that checks out.
And the craziest news throughout the NBA week is the Lakers the Buss family is giving up their control of the team, and they are selling a portion of the team, at least majority control, to be at the evaluation price of $10 billion.
Yeah, that is absolutely crazy. I mean, I was kind of blown away when the Broncos sold in the $1 billion range, but I guess that's just the era we live in now where all of the numbers are going to get higher.
Yeah, the Lakers are the second most valuable team on the planet. I think the Yankees are number 1, if I remember correctly. It's like Yankees, Lakers, and then Cowboys, if I remember correctly, the order.
Interesting. I could see the Dodgers being up in that
Dodgers
conversation
might be,
too.
Dodgers potentially might be 1. I don't remember which one of the.
They'd probably be in the top 5
teams.
somewhere.
Yeah.
But yeah, that is crazy, and it is one of the owners of the Dodgers group that's buying into the Lakers now, right?
Yeah, same dude.
Okay. Because I saw some other kerfuffle about despite the Dodgers guy buying the team, they're keeping the management the same. So it's why are you spending all the money if you're not taking control to make those sorts of decisions?
Yeah, everyone is still staying in place. Jenny Buss is still going to be the president and everything like that. Dude just seems to be acquiring all the sports teams throughout the Los Angeles area. Like he said, he's already the owner of the Dodgers with Magic Johnson, taking control of the Lakers. I'm going to wish him luck trying to potentially go after. I mean, the Rams would be the team you want in LA, but
Kroenke's not going to let go.
They do have the option to go get the Chargers if they want, but that's a different.
Yeah, that's more of an uphill climb, but that's probably the team you go for.
Yeah, if you want to collect in LA. But that is what has happened this week in the NBA. Like we talked about, we will have a championship later this evening. We'll tell you guys all about it next week. And we'll see how excited or depressed I am depending on what happens. Really, really hoping that Indiana comes through. Really, get that first one. Someone's going to come out with their first trophy. So it's going to be exciting regardless if you are an NBA fan and not a hater like me.
Absolutely. But yes, we are hoping for the Pacers to pull this one out.
Yes. In the WNBA, what a week that was. WNBA has had quite a week. Earlier in the week, in fact, almost a week ago, we talked about Caitlin Clark returning and against that undefeated New York team. Bad news for New York is they are no longer undefeated after that game because the Fever came out firing. They were ready to play, ready to go, and really kind of a freight train going through New York, which is odd because they are usually the
wild thing about that one was that the Liberties still showed up. Brianna Stewart and UNESCO both showed up with 30 plus points each and could not stop the Fever.
No, the Fever are set up to be such a they can score the ball. Caitlin Clark's on that team. Sophie Cunningham, who we'll talk about a little bit later, is on that team. Lexi Hall all shoot threes. Leah Boston's a scorer from what we saw from the Unrivaled League and from her career, I think, over in South Carolina. as well, and then I think they have Howard also over there. So a bunch of people who can score. Defending not sort of their forte, but if they do get going, they're a tough team to stop, as we saw taking down the former champions and the number one team in the league currently in New York. Doing so with that victory also set them up to be in the Commissioner Cup final, which is set for July 1st. They'll be taking on Minnesota on the opposite end there. Fever had a lot of news going on this week because a few days ago they did get into a little scuffle with the Connecticut Suns, who we've talked about is having a little bit of a rough go this season. Doesn't seem like anything's going to go their way. This game was, in fact, a little bit of a close game, and towards the end there, Caitlin Clark did get kind of poked in the eye and then shoved to the ground.
Yeah, it was quite the scene. Caught a lot of the sports world's attention. Because I think a lot of it was the poor officiating around the whole kerfuffle.
Well, there's been a lot of complaints about the officiating league-wide in the WNBA. This is not the first time. I mean, Indiana's coach has been begging that they get some calls for Caitlin Clark. Kelsey Plum complained a couple weeks ago because she is getting just absolutely hacked. It's just kind of not great. Everyone is not enjoying the officiating this year in the WNBA for one reason or another. But this one was kind of bad. The refs did not take control. She got shoved. She did get assessed a flagrant foul, and then the person who pushed her down to the ground also got a flagrant foul, which should have been 2 because it was not a basketball play, very targeted, everything that you would consider a flagrant 2. But on the other end, Sophie Cunningham made sure that they got their receiving end because she grabbed the person who poked Caitlin in the eye and also busted her tooth earlier in the season, pretty much in a headlock position, threw her to the ground, and then it was a fight from there on.
Yes, that was a little bit later, like just a couple minutes.
Few minutes later.
Yes. Yeah, with a hard block, as it was announced in live time. That set off a whole nother thing, and that's exactly what happens, and it is kind of a recurring theme. We'll talk about that later on in baseball news of the part of the job of officials, of referees, umpires, whatever their specific name is to be enforcing the rules in such a way that these things don't happen and the violent aspects of the game do not get out of hand, where the players feel like they need to start getting their own vengeance.
Yeah, take care of themselves. You're the one that's supposed to be sort of in control of the game. And we've seen this a number of times throughout many various sports. This one's not a playoff game, which is where it's a little bit more slightly bound to happen because the play, as we talked about last week, is a little bit more loose and free. But this one is just sort of bad blood between the teams. I don't know why the Suns are going after the Fever. Fever are clearly, unfortunately for the Suns, the much, much better team for what the construct that the Suns have going on. But they're going to go out there and just goon it up. I guess that's sort of the team build that they're going to go for.
I think there's got to be just still a bit of that, like, oh, Caitlin Clark's the face of the league, huh? Well, we'll show her up type of.
Yeah, we'll talk a little bit about that after we cover the other NBA news. We'll love to talk about the Dallas Wings here because we like to cover a little bit of all the teams until we get our own. And one day we will have our own here in the Mile High State, and that will be such a good day. But in Dallas, over there in the Wings, Beckers and Ogumawale stopped their 7-game slide, and excellent basketball game from them all around. They kind of put a stomping to the I don't remember which team they played, but there seems to be a problem, I guess, throughout the league when we're talking about sort of, it's really the 2 stars, Caitlin Clark, unfortunately, and Paige Beckers, both respectively. It does seem to be slight targets, not so much on Paige as much because she's like the silver child.
She's a little bit still in the wake of Caitlin Clark, who was Caitlin Clark is unique, once in a generation.
Sort of is by and far and large the golden child of the WNBA. In fact, a couple weeks ago when they both were hurt, the WNBA viewership dropped by in half.
It was a significant, not attendance, but viewership,
which is insane to me.
Yeah,
I understand wanting to watch these incredible talents respectively, and they both are very, very good. But there are also some other incredible people, and I could understand that ruffling a lot of the feathers as we've seen go around. A lot of the I guess I'm going to say the elder states WNBA and veterans in the WNBA before they came along, Caitlin Clark and Paige Beckers and a little bit of Angel Reese did not take so kindly to them because they have so many more eyes on them than I think the elder statesmen.
I think, and that's definitely, I think, in part due to the league, because if anything, the players themselves have had to take it into their own hands to do their own self promotion. Like, I've learned more NBA or WNBA players through the Unrivaled League than I have ever from watching WNBA content, because WNBA only features Caitlin Clark nowadays and maybe Asia Wilson if the Aces are involved. And it was wild for Asia to be the MVP and still be kind of like a secondary note to any Indiana Fever games.
Yeah, so you're right there. I mean, if you're looking just at media, you're going to see a lot of Caitlin Clark, a lot of Caitlin Clark, some Asia Wilson, some Nafisa. She's on her sort of MVP run right now. Occasionally, you'll see some Brianna and Sabrina. Occasionally,
generally, and that's if you're more talking about like Team USA than W action at all.
Yeah, you'll see occasionally some highlights from them from the actual Liberty games as they're like they steamroll teams, and then occasionally you'll have Paige Beckers also sprinkled in, and everyone else kind of here and there. Like you said, I think the most coverage I've seen of the WNBA in a long time now was the fight that we had with the Fever and the Suns, which is insane. There's so many other things.
And that's not the sort of action that you want to be catching the big media attention for if you're a league.
No, it does have the potential to bring in some more eyes, which is
you've
cool, but
you've got the or all attention is good attention type mindset. But yeah, ideally it would be because the game is an excellent product to watch, and not that there's a big kerfuffle then your officials are not doing a great job.
Yeah. It'll be interesting to see. Like we talked about, the WNBA PA is coming in here very, very soon. The contract is very, very, very due to be talked about. So it'll be good and fun and interesting to see how some of these things change. I mean, there's always you have to always have the mindset, I think, as a player, and I hope that bringing in some of these stars, whether it's Caitlin Clark, Aja Wilson, whoever it might be, as a golden child or whatever, is bringing more eyes to your sport in general, which is going to help with the negotiations that you're just about to go through.
Yeah, it'll be very interesting to see how the collective bargaining goes this time around, with the league being in a sort of boom time in its growth and gaining this, trying to ride this big wave of interest in all these sort of nationally famous rookies, but I think it again is the players are going to want more equity and a bigger piece of the pie that they are helping to grow. And on the other hand, they're, I think, pretty fairly going to need to demand a little bit more work from the W, whether it's from the head league side or each individual team getting like more marketing money or something to help, more names be a name brand than just the handful you've got so far. That being said, it's easy to say just throw more money at the problem, but MLB would love to find a way to get more of their players to be brand names for sports figures outside of like Shohei and Juan Soto, and like there's a lot of great baseball players, but kind of similar to our hockey thing, and our discussion last week about basketball players too. It's hard to nail down one guy to be the default across your media marketing, that they are the face of your game. It's a lot more down to individual markets and stuff.
We'll see how all this sort of shapes and shakes out. I'm excited to hear about what's going on in the MLB world, especially with my beloved Colorado Rockies.
Yeah, we can talk about what happened with the Rockies. We get to talk about a thing we have not talked about with the Rockies, I think, yet at all this season. They beat 3 different teams this week. No, wait, they played 3 different teams. They beat 2 of them, and they had 4 wins in a row altogether.
So we won 2 series.
No, we won 1 series.
Oh.
Let me see how our current situation's going on here. We are currently in action with the Diamondbacks. And hey, we did not get swept in the Diamondback series either. So a fifth win on the week officially, with the Rockies pulling out a 4-2 win over the Diamondbacks today. And we did, and I can retract it, rewind it back. We did beat 3 different teams this week. We ended last Sunday, so since our reporting to you came from Saturday last week, we did not have the end of the Braves series in the books. And refusing to get swept, our boys out on the road in Atlanta put a 10-1 whooping on those Atlanta Braves.
Save it all for the one game.
Saved it all for the one game. That one was, in fact, a bit of a pitcher's duel, believe it or not, until like the 7th inning. And then the Braves had to hand it over to their bullpen, and it all fell apart for them. And we got to be the beneficiaries of that for once.
I like that.
Absolutely. Ryan McMahon, solo home run in the 7th inning, broke the 1-1 tie, and then a 6-run 7th and a 3-run 8th put the Rockies at a 10-1 getaway day victory on Sunday. They then went out to Washington for 4 games against the Nationals, but we just happened to catch the Nationals on an 8-game losing streak. And they had not figured out what they were doing wrong just yet. We took the first 3 out of 4 of those games in Washington. And that 4th game, which was a Thursday afternoon affair, went to extra innings. We were so close to beating the Nationals for a full sweep. But on that game, we do have to tip our hats when we see a hard carry on the other team. James Wood hit a 2-run home run in the 4th inning to get his team on the board. Rockies tied it up with 2 runs of their own. That score stayed the same until the 11th inning, when the Rockies were able to get an RBI to make it 3-2, until the bottom of the 11th inning, when James Wood came up and hit a 2-run home run.
Wood.
And all 4 runs for the Nationals came from his one bat. He did single-handedly keep us from our second sweep of the year. And surprisingly enough, these are all coming out on the road. We're still not a very good team at Coors Field, which we proved by coming back home to host the Arizona Diamondbacks. And Friday and Saturday, we did go ahead and take a little bit of a whooping. Let's see here. Friday night, we did get a little bit of historic baseball in the first game of the Diamondback series. We got a little bit of a taste of the old days with a classic Coors Field hit parade with a 14-8 score line on this one. The runs keep coming and they don't stop coming. Fans at this game also got to witness just the 3rd Venezuelan player ever to hit 300 home runs. Eugenio Suarez, or Gino as he goes by, hit numbers 299 and 300 in this game, joining Miguel Cabrera and Andres Galarraga as the only Venezuelan sluggers to match that feat.
Ooh. Love some extra Colorado love there.
Absolutely. And especially anytime I get to talk about Andres Galarraga, who was my very first favorite baseball player. So that was a little highlight to be the salve on our absolutely wild loss. 14 runs is not great. And this one was a bit of a home run duel that we did in fact lose, mostly thanks to Suarez's 2 home runs. But it does look like on Sunday, let's just take a look here. We had runs from Mickey Moniak, Brenton Doyle, Kyle Farmer, and Brenton Fulford. Nice little contributions from up and down the lineup. We do have to give some shout outs to Hunter Goodman, who did hard carry another game with 2 home runs. Ryan McMahon starting to find his power swing. And Michael Toglia, who just got called back up from AAA after his batting average kind of fell in the toilet. But a couple weeks down in the minors, and he is back with a vengeance, also swatting a couple big flies. Actually, I think he had 3 on the week altogether. So The power is coming back here in the summer months to our lineup, and I actually read a little bit of an interesting article that one of, as we discussed last week, some of the new philosophical approaches of the new management in Rockies country. Part of that, with the takeover of Warren Schaefer to the management position, was the promotion of a hitting coach out from AAA by the name of Jordan Pacheco, if you remember him.
I do remember Jordan Pacheco. Used to be a catcher, third base, first base
Basically a
for us.
utility man, yeah. And wasn't particularly great at any of them, but he could play all of them. And he was in our system for about 3 years. He went and played a couple years in Arizona as well. But in his post-playing days, he has come back as a hitting coach for us. And along with some of the other guys that Warren Schaefer has worked with, he brought Jordan Pacheco up to the big team. And Jordan has come up with a new methodology for the batting practice routine that seems to be delivering some pretty good results based on this last week of action out on the road. And the innovation that Jordan Pacheco has brought relies largely on the sophistication of current day pitching machines, in the fact that you can basically dial them up into the exact settings for whichever pitcher you're going to face today. Like, they just have that data on how much spin and movement.
You have so much data nowadays.
Exactly. Rockies are fairly notorious for not utilizing any of this data, but that seems to be slowly but surely changing thanks to nothing but the slow march of progress. And so thanks to that, Jordan Pacheco has said, we're going to utilize this good technology. We're just going to crank the difficulty up. So when we go out on the road, I'm going to put heavier balls in here, and we're going to put more movement on it. And so when my guys are practicing off this machine, it's not just the gimme practice hitting the ball as far as you can, warm-up pitches out on the field that you see for batting practice. This is tougher than anything you're going to see in the game. If you can hit it in the cage here, you'll be fine for anything you see out on the field. And then the opposite side of that is he is using basically the inverse approach when they get back home to Coors Field, throws lighter balls in there and dials down the movement to simulate the extreme change it's going to be. Haven't quite seen the results translate back on the homestand yet, but I like that they're trying something, essentially. It's a little bit crazy and no one else would probably do it, but we're the Rockies. We might have to do some crazy things.
It's like we talked about last week. We are always constantly battling uphill on no matter what we do.
Yeah, and I think that is an interesting way to approach the problem of saying, I'm just going to make your tolerances more extreme anyway for the wild change in movement you're going to see, and you'll just adapt to it.
It seems to be doing okay. Like it does seem like our batting is slowly but surely improving, because we have improved from getting in the range of 2 to 4 hits a game to more than that, enough to score a run.
Yeah, we beat a few teams. We're scoring runs on a fairly regular basis. It's been a while since we've been shut out. It's still not resulting in wins, but I think we've kind of mentioned that at this point in the season, the wins don't mean anything. There's not really any value in them.
We are so far behind sort of everyone else, it doesn't really matter. This year is really just...
There is no feasible way where this season turns out to be a success in terms of like playoff appearance or anything for the Rockies.
Yeah.
Just mathematically, they'd have to stop losing entirely from this point onward. Which, if that happens, you'll be witnessing baseball history in the most intense way possible.
Yeah, that would be insane. That'd be almost video game-like.
I don't even think the video game lets you do that. I think they program in some losses to keep you from being able to.
No, I'll fight them.
Okay. That was the Rockies news. We do have some other around the league notes to call out, though. I didn't mention him last week, and that turned out to be okay because he just went ahead and continued to make headlines this week. The Milwaukee Brewers called up their number one pitching prospect, Jacob Misarowski, who can throw the ball about 105 miles an hour. He's the newest flamethrower arm we have in the league, and he has not given up an earned run in his first 11 innings pitching.
That's kind of insane.
A little bit. The control is a little hit and miss, which is why he's not perfect through 11 innings. He's allowed some walks, but no hits, no runs. And yeah, you'll be hearing about Mr. Misarowski for the rest of this season for sure, and probably for quite a few years into the future if things continue well with his young career. Other call-outs in the league. Cal Raleigh, the catcher for the Seattle Mariners, has just set a new record for home runs hit by a switch hitter before the All-Star break. He's leading all of baseball with 31 home runs already.
That's pretty good, especially with the hitters that we know are around the league.
Yeah, I mean, Aaron Judge was on a tear. Shohei hasn't had as much power pop quite this season, but we'll transition to Shohei in just a sec to see what he's been up to this week. But yeah, a lot of surprising power. I think he's already shattered all of the Mariners records for catching, hitting stats. And I believe Ken Griffey was the only other Mariner to have 30 home runs before the All-Star break.
That's a good name to be associated with.
Yeah, absolutely.
Especially in that organization. They need somebody out there. It's been a rough go for them the past few years.
He is their bright spot out in Seattle baseball land, and he goes by the nickname Big Dumper.
Yep. Okay. Glad that they're...
That's the name to add up into Seattle Mariners lore. Big Dumper Cal Raleigh.
Yep, we have the kid, and then we have Big Dumper over here.
Exactly. Other news in Major League Baseball, Rafael Devers, who we mentioned earlier in the year, who was having some interpersonal HR issues with his new general manager out in Boston, who was not the general manager he signed his contract under. They asked him to switch positions, and he said, "You can go straight to hell." I don't think he actually said that, but he basically said he wasn't going to do it, and has now found himself in the center of a trade with the San Francisco Giants, who, thanks to new president of baseball operations, Buster Posey, who I happened to just know that he was in that position a few weeks ago, has now filled the hole for a slugger that the Giants have been missing basically ever since Barry Bonds left.
Which is funny because the Giants were like, what if we ask you to play different positions? Like, sure.
Yep, that is the most hilarious part. He came over and they were like, "Hey, we will actually ask you to be playing first base sometimes, though." And he's like, "Yeah, that's fine." It's like, okay. It's just all about how you talk to the man, apparently.
Apparently, it's whoever asked him. Buster is like, "Hey, we need you to play first." He's like, "All right, Buster." The Red Sox guy, "No, you go screw yourself."
Basically. And then later that week, the Giants were slated to face the Red Sox. So he did immediately get his first hit in a Giants uniform against his old team.
And his first home run in a Giants uniform against his former team.
Also a very eventful week for Mr. Rafael Devers. And then to cover the rest of the MLB drama that also happened in the National League West, we had a heck of a series with the Dodgers and the Padres this week.
That, first off, I feel so bad for the NL West that we just get to be here.
That we have to stink things up in the basement while the rest of the teams
are so good. The Dodgers are so good. The Giants are figuring things out once again.
They've got some scary pieces that are kind of clicking together.
Yep, they're getting back on track. The Padres have spent a lot of money to be as good as they are. And then there's the Diamondbacks, who are, for the most part, mostly homegrown-ish with some older pieces that they've acquired more successfully than us. But yeah, the rivalries in our league is just so good.
Very good. In this particular week, we got to see a wild array of things, starting off with the return of Shohei Ohtani, the pitcher. He started the game one, I believe, and only did one inning because they have basically accelerated their timetable for when they wanted him to start, just out of necessity, as we discussed last week. The Dodgers are basically on their last ends and odds of trying to find usable pitchers who are healthy enough to throw games for them, because half of their salary cap in pitching is on the injured list.
But they are still finding a way to be successful somehow.
They're still winning. They're still 6 games ahead of the Padres, I believe, as of recording time now. And when you have a Shohei Ohtani that you can run out there, it doesn't hurt to run him out there every once in a while. Shohei was back. He did give up 1 run in his 1 inning of work, which does give him a 9 ERA for the year currently.
Very Rocky-esque, yes.
It would absolutely fit in on the Rockies rotation, no problem right now. But outside of that 1 inning of pitching, the game continued to be exciting because in the end of that game, Andy Pages for the Dodgers took a 95-mile-an-hour fastball up on the shoulder at the end of the game from the Padres, and he didn't quite care for that. So in Game 2, he came back and hit 2 home runs in that game. And whether intentional or not, the Dodgers pitchers managed to hit Fernando Tatis early in that game. And that was another one where the ball kind of 93, 95 sinker up in between the letters on the back. And the Padres said, well, now we're not going to have any of that. And when Shohei Ohtani came to the plate in the next inning, he got plunked in. At least they gave him all the niceties of baseball tradition in throwing at his butt, essentially. Instead of like at the head, shoulder, back area, they're like, we are going to throw at you, but it will be off of your hip or butt. And that's generally the easiest place to walk off a hit by pitch. So now both superstars on both teams have gotten plunked. Tensions are high. And at this point, the umpires give a warning to both dugouts, to which the manager for the Dodgers took offense to. He's an old school guy, Dave Roberts, and he was of the opinion he wanted to have a conversation about that before the referee or the umpires just started making big demands like warning the dugout, because after both dugouts have officially been warned, basically anyone any pitchers who throw at batters would be immediately ejected. So already with a very short stable of available pitchers, Dave Roberts not happy about that situation. Goes ahead and wants to step out onto the field to have a conversation. The umpire at third base said, "No, you don't. You're out of here. We said don't come out here. It's not a conversation." And Dave Roberts then continued to have a conversation with the crew chief, who was not the umpire who threw him out. So yes, a whole kerfuffle there, which leads us to Game 3 in the series. And this is where, to begin the game, in the third inning, poor Yoshinobu Yamamoto, poor guy, pitches an immaculate inning, which is 9 pitches to record 3 outs, the quote-unquote minimum that it takes.
Yamamoto is his last name.
Yamamoto, thank you. Yoshinobu Yamamoto gets robbed of a immaculate inning by... this pitch is so down the middle. It's for strike 3 on the third batter, which I believe was Manny Machado. 96-mile-an-hour fastball, right at belt height, right down the middle of the plate, and it's called a ball. He would go ahead and record the out 2 pitches later anyway, so it didn't actually affect the outcome of the game. But it is a rarer accomplishment as far as pitching accolades than like complete game shutouts, I think. So a little bit of history tossed aside, very similar to the Detroit pitcher a few moons back who was robbed of his perfect game by a bad call at first base. That's to set the tone, and then the Padres take Game 3 in this series. They take a 5-0 lead. There's not a big competitive late game push here. It's 5-0. Dodgers are trying to mount a comeback. But late in the game, top of the ninth, Fernando Tatis gets hit again by what is almost certainly an accidental, just a two-seam pitch that ran inside too hard. But because of all the history of the previous games, the benches do clear when the managers are the ones who run out to the field to start barking with each other. And doesn't turn into anything more than that, but it was the fun scene of all the pitchers running out from the bullpen and everyone getting into their little shoving match out in the middle of the field. And after all of that, Shohei Ohtani comes to the plate in the bottom of the ninth. The Dodgers do actually kind of start rallying, so now Shohei represents the tying run, and they fall down 3-0 in the count to Shohei, so it looks like you're going to walk him. And instead of walking him, they hit him with a 100-mile-an-hour fastball right in the shoulder. And in the what is considered a very wild act of defiance of baseball tradition, Shohei Ohtani immediately turned to his dugout and held up his hand and said, "No, boys, we will not have a benches clearing brawl today. I am going to walk to first, and it will be fine, and we will not do any sort of violence."
I'm just trying to play baseball here.
It was very much we're here just to enjoy the sport, fellas. And he walked down to first base, laughing away, making a little small talk with the first baseman. And then they had a little TV timeout, and he even wandered over to the Padres dugout and made small talk with them.
I am curious what he said because
it's very fun because by all accounts, he still uses a translator for most interviews and stuff. So his English isn't I get why you don't necessarily want to do an interview in a second language you're not 100% comfortable with, but he has to know enough to be or maybe he knows enough Spanish because there's a bunch of Latin guys on the Padres.
He knows enough to say what he probably needed and wanted to say.
He got laughs out of both dugouts, so just another storybook moment in the career of Shohei Ohtani, Shohei the Peacemaker.
What a guy.
Absolutely. And that is, I think, all of our baseball news this week.
I'm excited. He did, I would say, I think he pitched another game and he did record his first strikeout as well.
Okay. Yeah, that checks out. I think that he is just plugging into the rotation now.
His ERA is not great, I would say, still, because he's only pitching a couple innings here.
Yeah, that tends to be the case when you don't have many innings, because the way ERA is calculated, it's however many earned runs you gave up projected out over 9 innings. So if you only do 1 inning, it's whatever you gave up times 9.
Yeah. Can't give up the single run. That's the one.
It's rough. Yeah. Absolutely. And with that being said, and with the hockey season now drawing to a close, I have had to find a secondary sport to be reporting on. Which I've gone ahead and done, and now you will be tasked with finding a secondary sport after next week when your basketball goes away. But I have a little report about the PLL if you'd like to hear.
The Professional Lacrosse League.
Premier Lacrosse League.
Oh, I'm sorry. Premier Lacrosse. The P means a lot of different things.
There's a lot of things the P could have been.
Yeah.
You weren't far off. But yes, the Premier Lacrosse League is the newest incarnation of our outdoor or field lacrosse, replacing the MLL, which is who our Denver Outlaws used to play under back in the day. But the MLL folded after a COVID-shortened 2020 season, and the upstart PLL, which is doing a few interesting things, considering, we've kind of covered the young and early stages of many new sports leagues that have risen up in our coverage here. So the PLL is doing a touring schedule where they intentionally are doing the takeover tour. What they're doing is they're taking the whole league on tour at the time. So each week they go to one of the host cities and play all of their games over that weekend.
Yeah, it's a super cool idea. I wish the PWHL.
There you go.
Yep. Too many acronyms. PWHL would do the same thing because I'd like to see some of the other teams play, New York Siren here in the state.
Absolutely. It's a very fun idea for a way to get all of the talent in your league around to all the different locations. Currently, the PLL features 8 teams touring 14 weeks in the summer. They are specifically designed not to overlap with either the NCAA fall season nor the NLL, which is still in operation, Indoor Lacrosse League, which runs the December to like May sort of time window of traditional sort of winter sports. So they're going to be the summer league. They do 14 weeks, only on weekends. They already have a broadcast deal. They originally picked up with NBC Universal for their first 3 years in existence and are currently in a 3-year deal with Disney/ESPN. So I was actually able to catch our Denver Outlaws playing the Utah Archers earlier this morning on ABC.
Which is funny because the Outlaws is one of the teams that the Utah Hockey Club
wanted to name themselves. And in another egregious case of Utah biting our style, the Utah Archers play in orange and blue.
I haven't seen those colors anywhere around here.
Nowhere.
I will say, though, I don't know if you know much about our Outlaws team, but I'm pretty sure the Outlaws are like a super team, kind of, because we have 3 of the best lacrosse players from college, like in 3 different years.
Sure, I definitely believe that. I did not do a ton of research into our roster just yet. I only caught the first. Basically, I caught on to the highlight from our last week of play. We are in week 4 of the PLL season currently, of their 14-week run. It's going to be 10 weeks of regular season games. There's going to be an all-star weekend somewhere in the middle there. And then there are going to be 3 weekends for playoffs. Going to have, I think, very similar to our PWHL, probably just the 2 semifinal rounds before you find your 2 finalists in an 8-team league. But yes, we are in. So I caught the week 3 action where the Outlaws got their first win of the season against the Philadelphia Water Dogs. And then, like I said, I was able to tune in this morning for the Outlaws' very dramatic come-from-behind victory against those Utah Archers. In the third quarter of this game, they were down 10-5 and were able to rally up for a 13-10 win.
It's a big win.
That's a huge comfort. Based on the first bits of the game that I saw, I was like, not a great look for our Outlaws to start the year, but they dug in deep and pulled out. Now, I have not paid a whole lot of attention to lacrosse over the years. I've been to a few of our Colorado Mammoth games with our indoor team over at Ball Arena in their history, but in watching some actual PLL, I'm a little surprised that we have not followed lacrosse, you and I, because it's basically a hybrid of our 2 sports.
Yeah, lacrosse it's like an interesting sport. Like, I never got the handling of the stick is like the toughest. It's a
very unique, motion for the cradling of the ball in the netted stick handle. But yeah, for those unfamiliar, lacrosse in this instance is played on a 100 by 60 yard field. So generally soccer, football fields are perfectly adequate, with nets on either side for scoring into. Each team gets a goalie and then 6 additional players on the field, but they do sort of hockey style in-play player change-ups, so that when you go on defense, you kind of sub out 2 of your offensive guys for more defenders, and that happens in a 20-yard changing zone off to the side of the midfield. So it's kind of doing line changes as you go, but when possession changes, there is a shot clock a la basketball, and then you are attempting to get the lacrosse ball past the goalie into the net that you're shooting on. PLL has added a 2-point line for shots past 15 feet. You can score 2 points at once.
I'd say that's a new innovation from...
That is a new wrinkle that is not existent in the indoor game. And then they have a very interesting wrinkle, I thought. When the ball is going to be going out of bounds, regardless of whichever team caused the ball to go out, it's whoever's closest to the boundary it goes out at. So it's interesting because normally if you were shooting and missing, the ball would just be out of bounds and it's like, oh, that's a loss of possession. But if you have the right strategy and good hustle and whatnot, you can kind of keep back possessions that way. A very interesting sort of wrinkle to it. And then, so that's the basics of the game itself. The teams play 4 quarters with a halftime in the middle, attempting to see who can get the most goals in that time. And the sort of other interesting wrinkle from a business side of the PLL is that they are building off of a notion of, and we've heard about this a lot, including more player equity into the success of the league, so that when the league grows, all of the players are able to enjoy that success. They've also built their media arm in such a way that they are basically open sourcing all of the media that is generated by the league for the players' use. So, in the way that LeBron can't technically like go on Instagram and post his own LA Lakers highlights because that's property of the league, PLL players can kind of take their own highlight footages like and reels and whatnot and market themselves that way.
Yeah, market yourself, and you also get growth from the league because people want to come to watch all the cool things that you do.
And I will say, in exploring just a little bit of their like YouTube and stuff, their media department is pretty good. They have some pretty high quality videos up already, as far as like introductions to the sport and to the action of the game. So I will go ahead and keep us up to date on our Denver Outlaws this summer, and hopefully they pull up out of they're 500 now, 2-2. But it is only going to be like the top 4 teams, I think, that make the playoffs. So, got some work to do.
Yeah, another young league. I think we do have potential there. Like we said, the other Outlaws team that we've had been very successful here in the Mile High State, winning a number of different championships and whatnot.
I think, I did a little history digging. I think they had 3 championships with 10 finals appearances.
Yeah, they were very good. We seem to breed pretty good lacrosse teams. Know what we're doing over here.
Yeah, I mean, DU had a pretty dominant lacrosse team for a little while, at least. I
think we still do.
Probably. Yeah, so another little growing sport there, and we'll find we'll find sports news for every week.
Yeah, actually, I kind of do like going into some of the smaller niche sports. Let's grow some things and find some things.
Well, like I said, your turn comes next week when you get to tell us about what you're going to cover after the NBA.
I'm so excited.
Absolutely. Did we have anything to cover out of the NFL world?
We did not. No big news from the NFL world. They've been pretty quiet, as everyone is still trying to figure out what their roster looks like, especially after training camp is sort of going.
Yeah, I think we're in the lull between OTAs and like proper training camp now, so
Yep.
That checks out. Well, I guess that leaves nothing else but our closing quiz then, huh?
Oh, what a closing quiz I have for you with a small wrinkle.
Oh boy, wrinkles.
We love some wrinkles.
We love to wrinkle up our segments.
Yep.
All right, what do we got this week?
I have 4 questions on this closing quiz here, and 1 trap card that you will fall into here.
Oh boy.
So
I love that I invented a trap card.
Yes. So this week, in honor of our sports closing and championships, this sports quiz is going to be all about the appearances in each of the respective sports championship.
Okay.
So we will start off in the NHL, and we are looking for the team with the most appearances in a Stanley Cup. Your options are the Leafs, the Toronto Maple Leafs, the Boston Bruins, one of the originals, the Montreal Canadiens, with the wrong spelling of Canadian, might I add, and we have the Chicago Blackhawks. Which one of these teams has the most appearances?
I believe those are all original 6 teams. My original guess before I heard the options, which is what I'm going to go with, just follow my gut here, is Canadiens.
Canadiens do have the most appearances. I do believe they have like 33 different appearances, and they have 21 trophies back before they got done cursed.
Yep, a lot of them are in those early days of original 6. And what do you expect? That's the home of the game.
Good. Started off easy. Figured you might know that one. Let's move over to the next one you may know. We're looking in the MLB.
Okay.
Of course, we know that the Yankees have the most appearances in the MLB. That's not a shock to anyone, especially with their 20-some wins to their name.
Yep, just on wins alone, we kind of know they've got it by a fair margin.
Indeed. So who has the second most appearances next to our beloved Yankees here?
Now, that's a pretty good dastardly one.
Yes, indeed. Is it going to be the Los Angeles Dodgers / the Brooklyn Dodgers / the however many different names that we
slash
learned
the
about.
Grays slash Bridegrooms slash Robins
Slash back to the Bridegrooms.
Yes. Okay.
That team, or is it going to be our Boston Red Sox, the rival San Francisco Giants, or one of the originals, the Detroit Tigers? Which one of these teams follow the Yankees in appearances?
Second most World Series appearances.
Yes.
Ooh. Now that's a tricky one because, as we covered, the Dodgers have a long history. The Giants are kind of in a similar nature of they had a long history before moving to California. And then the Red Sox, who notoriously did not get to the World Series for quite a long time. I think I'm going to, or is that the trap card? I have to be wary of the trap card now for all the other ones. What a devious web you've woven here. Let's say Dodgers.
You are correct. It is the Dodgers, in fact. The Yankees have a ton of World Series appearances. The Dodgers have the most right next to them with 11.
Oh, yeah, right next to them.
Yeah, right next to them.
I mean, that's a lot for any other franchise if you don't look at the 27.
Yeah, it's tough. Going on, the next sport we have is the NFL. Which one of these teams has the most appearances in a Super Bowl? Is it the Pittsburgh Steelers, who we know have a lot of trophies?
Yep.
New England Patriots also have a lot of trophies. The Dallas Cowboys, they've been there quite a few times. Or our beloved Denver Broncos.
Ooh, as much as I'd love to say it's the Broncos, they have 6. The Steelers have like 6 trophies altogether, don't they?
I believe they have, 6
Something
or
like
6 or
that.
8. I can't remember which one of the even numbers.
Yeah, Brady delivered quite a lot, although not all of them with the Patriots. And what was my other option?
The Cowboys.
I don't think I consider them in the competition.
Remember, we're not looking for winners, just how many times have
How
they
many
been
times
to
they've been.
How many times have they been to the dance? They're not the prom king, but they are there. They made it to the dance.
I'm going to take a wild swing on this one and say this is the trap card, and it's a Buffalo Bills as the answer.
It is not. It is, in fact, they're the rivals, the Pittsburgh Patriots. Or not the Pittsburgh Patriots, the New England Patriots. Mixing all these teams in my head. The New England Patriots are our winner there, in fact.
Okay, I did kind of hate or not want to have to acknowledge that.
Yeah, unfortunately, we do have to acknowledge it. They do have the most appearances. They have been up there in most trophies now that Brady left his legacy there with Bill Belichick, unfortunately.
Yeah, that checks out.
And of course, it wouldn't be the same without my NBA. Which one of these teams has the most appearances? Is it going to be the Golden State Warriors, which we know they've been a lot in the past few years, in fact.
Very recently have been
the Boston Celtics, they've been a lot through history. That they have had some good starts.
Right. Different eras.
Different eras. Is it going to be the New York Knicks? They had a very, very good start to the whole basketball thing. The end here has been a little cursed, if I may say so myself. Or is it going to be the Los Angeles Lakers, who just recently sold?
Well, I want to say, based on my slight knowledge of basketball history, I think the Celtics have the opportunity the most. So I'm just going to say they have the most.
They do have the most trophies, but appearances go to the Lakers, actually. The Lakers have made it there a few more times than the Boston Celtics. It is close. Should note the Boston Celtics' last win last season did put them over the Lakers by 1 trophy.
Nice.
So they are trying to recoup that, but the Lakers do have them in
most
overall
appearances.
Championships. Now, my wrinkle, I decided to do something a little fun, in fact. We're going to go back to the NHL world.
Okay.
And I'm going to have you blind rank these 5 players, these 5 Avalanche players that have played for us.
Oh boy.
1 through 5, your ranking of them, however you want to rank them based on personal preference as that hockey player. I'll let you choose, decide, and you can sort of explain your thinking. But you will not get to know. You have to place them before you get to hear the next person.
Okay. In a ranking of top 5.
In a ranking of top 5.
Okay, well, this is going to be interesting. Let's hear where you're starting.
Let's hear. Number 1 is going to be Paul Stastny.
Paulie Walnuts. I'm going to put him in at number 4.
Number 4. Alrighty. Next after him is Eric Johnson.
Ooh, EJ, the Condor. Let's slot him in the 5 spot.
Interesting. Next we have beloved Claude Lemieux.
Oh, Claude. Okay. Claude will go into the 3 spot.
Sure. So 1 and 2 left.
1 and 2 left.
Matt Duchene, who we know we just gave some money to.
Yeah, interesting list you've put together. Matty Duchesne. Boy, what devious trap am I about to step right into for who's going to take the number 1 spot? Matt Duchesne takes the 2 spot.
Okay, so your number 1 is in fact going to be Cody McLeod.
I'm okay with that. Yeah, Cody McLeod can take the 1 spot for sure.
What is your ranking here?
Sort of just favorites in terms of, I think, I mean, not necessarily contribution. If I could go back, I would shuffle him a little bit. But Cody McLeod was an ab for life, was one of those just like grinder guys. He wasn't going to put up a ton of numbers, but he would absolutely throw down the gloves for anyone, any night. None of his teeth were his own or were real anymore, but he laid it out on the line for like 10 years in a row with that number 55 on his back. Cody McLeod's a gamer. Matt Duchesne, I still think probably ranks pretty high on this list just in terms of point production. Like he was a face of the team for a fair while. And that's where I think maybe Paul Stastny might slide up ahead. I think if I re-rank this, I would bump EJ to 3, Stastny to 4, Claude Lemieux to 5. As much as Claude Lemieux is a great hockey player overall, but his period with the Avs was just not as long as anyone else on this list. Paul Stastny had an excellent beginning of his career, even though we wanted him to be like a Nathan MacKinnon at the time, and he just wasn't a Nathan MacKinnon.
No, he was a hell of a hockey player, but not. He was good, but not great.
Exactly, and he went on to have a very good, solid second half of his career as a bit of a journeyman, which I think he's just now finished, or is still. He was like with the Winnipeg Jets a couple years ago.
It feels like he's been way longer than he was with us now at this point.
Yeah, he is no longer, I think, a career Av, although the Stastnys have a long and storied history with our franchise. And then EJ gets the 3 spot because he actually, he won a cup. Duchesne and Stastny haven't, but I don't think McLeod did either. Come to think of it, I think he missed out on the 0-1 window. So, but my ranking is a little arbitrary and whatnot.
Sure. Now, can you tell me what all these people have in common?
Interesting. Other than having played for the Avs.
Yes.
Paul Stastny, Cody McLeod, Matt Duchesne, Eric Johnson, Claude Lemieux. I don't think they were all first-round draft picks.
They're not.
A few of them were. I don't think they've all worn number 55.
No, that's a horrendous number too. That's only for the Gooners, which
They don't all play the same position. You've got a mix of forwards and defensemen. Well, EJ's the one defenseman. They're all missing teeth.
I think that's true for most hockey players. I don't know.
Yeah, that's why it's a safe bet.
In fact, these all have been assistant captains.
Okay, yeah. I could have gotten there maybe.
Yeah.
They have all worn the A.
They have all worn the A at some point in their career for the Colorado Avalanche.
That absolutely checks out, yeah. Claude was wearing the A right at the get-go in 96. McLeod was an A for a good portion of his career. Matt Duchesne, some people thought he had the unfortunate timing of overlapping with Landy.
Yeah, the bad timing of overlapping with sort of the old regime and sort of coming in with the new regime.
Yeah, a bit of a shame. So he was never going to get more than the A. EJ wore it in all of his. It took, I think, maybe like a year from when he got traded over for him to start wearing an A. That was a good one.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I think that will do it for us today. Remember, if you have not done so yet, please go give us a follow on Spotify. Give us a rating. We do love a 5-star rating there. Go check out our YouTube and our website, 321pods.com, PODS. Any other thing you would like to advertise?
No, I think that's the big ones. Yeah, do the Spotify thing. go smash the bell and hit the like button on the YouTube, and we'll keep cranking out the content over there. We'll continue to try and pull out our best little bits for sharing around with everyone, and see if more people don't want to listen to our weekly recaps here.
For sure. Nothing less. Come check back next week and see what sport I get to choose to cover and follow along as basketball season comes to an end here in a short few hours. Thank you guys for joining along with us. We'll see you next week. I have been your host with the host with so much joy and happiness that in Indiana, I'm calling it the Indiana Pacers win their first trophy.
Oh, shot called.
Shot called. If this goes poorly, I will be devastated regardless. Next podcast, along with me, is my new PLL insider, Nick.
Adios, everyone.
See you guys later.